Well, hello. Welcome to another 15 minutes of tangling. We're just about done with our drawings for this tile, so I'm excited to see what it looks like once we're all finished with Pea-Nuckle. So yesterday I started inking in the interstices, and that's where I'll continue today. It'll be nice to finish up with the drawing portion and move on to shading. It's nice to sort of see a little bit of progress each day. So today I'm sitting right next to a little stream. I did a tiny hike to get here. So I don't know, you might hear the little babbling of the stream throughout the video. Also, it's a gorgeous day in the upper 70s, lower 80s, very sunny, a few clouds here and there. So a lot of folks are out enjoying the weather. So we might have quite a few people walking past during this 15 minutes. It's nice during this time of inking in to really slow down and enjoy laying down this black ink. There's absolutely no reason to rush through. Today's weather is just gorgeous in the shade. The temperature is lovely, and there's a little bit of a breeze to cool you right off if you get too hot. Earlier in the day, there was a little bit of rain. My friends and I, as I had mentioned in my last video, planned to go strawberry picking, and we did. It was absolutely wonderful. It was fun to spend time with friends. We were very conscientious about our 6-foot distancing. One of them works in healthcare, and one of them has relatives working in healthcare. So it was very important to us to make sure to maintain that social distancing, but it was also just so good for the mental health to see one another, to spend some time outdoors. The strawberry picking itself was fun, and the strawberries were scrumptious, but we spent most of our time, there was a little lake there, and really in sort of the foothills of the mountain range passing by. So it was just a gorgeous location. So we spent time just sitting by the lake, taking in some sun, chatting about this and that. There's a lot of little insects and ants being I'm outdoors, so it'll be interesting to see if you see any of those on the video. We might have some visitors. Okay, almost done. Let me turn the tile and get this little corner here. Alright, I think I am done with all of the drawing and all of the ink. So it's time to move on to shading. So I've got my graphite pencil, and I usually go and begin shading with the very first pattern I drew, which in this case was the flux here. So let's consider how we'll shade that flux. I tend to like to put some shading down at the bottom here. So I'm going to do that for each of our little flux leaves. So some of you might be very familiar with the Zentangle method, and some of you may have never heard of it or weren't quite aware that it was an official method of drawing, quote unquote official. And so the Zentangle method has a variety of steps. It sort of makes drawing into a relaxing ritual. And so the very first step that I normally practice is just gratitude, sitting for a moment with your beautiful art supplies in whatever space you're going to be drawing, and taking just a moment to think about the things you're grateful for, the opportunity to draw, the beautiful supplies you get to draw with, having the health, having the time, the ability to be part of something that you enjoy. Whatever it is you're grateful for, just taking that moment at the beginning of each tile to remember all those things that you're grateful for. I think it's a step that is so easily skipped. You know, we're so excited to draw. We sometimes forget to really slow down and take a moment to just be grateful for the opportunity. Once you've had that moment of gratitude, then you can start your drawing. And you always begin with your pencil, drawing 4 dots, one in each corner of the tile. And then connecting those dots to create a bit of a frame for your drawing. It's sometimes nice to have some borders, some boundary within which to be creative. That boundary sometimes helps us to be a bit more creative because we're narrowing down that space. We don't have to feel so overwhelmed. That idea of writer's block is sometimes just as intimidating when you're an artist and you're looking at a blank canvas. So creating that border is helpful. But then the next step, which is drawing a string, which is a line or a series of lines that break your tile into even smaller sections. That way you only really have to consider one section of your tile at a time. It again helps to make the art and the tile just a little bit more approachable. I think it also adds a unique and sort of organic feel to your tile and to the patterns that you draw on it. Folks who don't know Zentangles, often ask, well, how did you decide where to place each pattern? You must have planned that. And nope. I just drew a squiggly line and then drew my patterns within that line. So drawing your string is, I think, a step that is really helpful in your drawing. And the great thing about a string is you can ignore it when you want. You're the artist. So you draw it and you set it up to sort of scaffold you. But if you don't need it, you don't need it. All right, so I'm done shading my flux. So I'll go on to shading my bales pattern. And so I'm thinking what I want to do is sort of connect these little triangles and put a little graphite to one side of that line. I've not done bales in this way before. I think I had seen someone else do a tile similar with this idea, and so I thought, ooh, I might want to try that. Just a different way to shade bales than I normally do. I've also been playing around with different materials, not just a graphite pencil for shading. Alright, so once you've drawn your string, then you move over to using your Pigma Micron pen or some sort of ink. So I know some folks prefer other sort of black ink pens over Pigma Microns, but many folks who do Zentangles use the Pigma Micron pens. Oh, I like that. Okay, but I think I also want some shading around the border. So wherever there's an edge right here, I'm going to lay a little bit of graphite along that border as well. So you switch over to your Pigma Micron pen or whatever pen you're choosing, and you draw your tangles. Sometimes you draw one within each section, sometimes you use the string to sort of let your pattern organically grow along the edge. Alright, time to move on to this changing here. I think first I'm going to shade the border. Whenever you come up on a section like this that's inked in, you don't need to shade there. Obviously there's plenty of black ink. And then you can avoid sort of that shiny graphite look that sometimes happens. So once you're done drawing your patterns with your ink pen, you can go in and shade to add a little bit more depth to your drawing. Now, I find that a lot of people who are just beginning sort of can struggle with the step of shading. It does definitely take some time, and I think that often each artist sort of finds their own shading comfort zone. Trying out different techniques for shading, practicing different areas of shading. So I think it's just something to experiment with until you start to feel comfortable and find the materials, the art supplies that produce the type of shading you want. I think it took me a year or two to get really comfortable with the graphite and tortillon. And then over the past, I would say year, maybe less, I've been playing around with Copic markers, Copic gray markers. And I definitely like both, and will use both in a lot of my art. But art is sometimes a process where you find a supply that you really like and you sort of experiment with it and see how it goes. Alright, I think my changing is shaded the way I would like. So now I'm going to move on to shading the zingers. I think I'm going to start with shading one side. Let's just choose this right side. And choose the bottom side here. So I'm going to try to go with, yeah, let's go here. And let's go this side here. I'm going to add a little bit right under here. I'm going to stop right there because that is our 15 minutes for today. So we'll continue on with our shading tomorrow. Bye.